Searching for this all my life. You're just my type. I've been looking for a boy who can treat me right. Your dark hair, because eyes so bright.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Scheananigans. So, I think I mentioned last week on the pod that I was going to hopefully be getting into some East Coast shenanigans. However, that did not work out. I am going to have to make a trip back to the East Coast soon, though, because Carl and I want to do a pod swap, check out Soft Bar. Brock was able to go by there when we were in New York this past week, but I wasn't, and it just didn't line up. So I was not able to record a new episode. You know, we had Jasmine and Melissa's wedding, and that venue, Crossed Keys Estate, I mean, highly recommend. It was absolutely beautiful. I will get into more of the wedding next week on the podcast. But for today, I was literally just at Summer's graduation, and, you know, her and Ocean are there together. And it just made me think about how every single time I post for questions, everyone is like, what happened with Lala? What happened with Lala? What about the girls' friendship? And I'm like, the girls still go to school together. Okay. They've been seeing each other 5 days a week for the last 2 years. And I just had a great conversation with Easton. We're like, look, it's on us to keep these girls together and to keep this friendship going. And, you know, who knows when more time passes. But I just wanted to, for today, throw it back to my episode from October 3rd. If I have any Mean Girls fans out there, you know how important October 3rd is. But I went into detail with Kiki, and I talked about a lot of what happened in that friendship. And because everyone keeps asking, for those of you who missed it, I thought I would just rerun an old episode today because I legit just did not have time to record a new one between, you know, I just got back from London, and then I go to New York, and then we go to Jersey, and then we come home, and then it's her graduation, and now I have the party, and it's just been craziness this past week. But I can't just leave you guys hanging with nothing this week. We got to get into some shenanigans. So I'm like, let's just throw it back to last year. You guys can re-listen to or hear for the first time kind of what happened with that. And if there are any questions left, you know, I can maybe get into that more next week. But I just thought to give everyone a little refresher here, this would be good. And yeah, I hope you enjoy listening back to this episode. And I will be back next week with an all new episode. And I am hoping to get the bride in the hot seat next week, but I'm not sure what her plans are. So hopefully we get Jasmine good, but if not, it's still going to be good as gold. And I will be back next week getting into more shenanigans with you guys. Hello, everyone, and welcome back for another week of Scheananigans. Kiki and I are here in the studio today, and we still have a lot to cover because it's like we never get to all of the cards.
No, we never get to all the cards.
They just recycle every week.
They do recycle every week. And also, like, okay, I opened my phone this week and literally, I'm not even kidding, I scrolled 5 posts about you, all different things. It wasn't even the same thing. And I was like, oh my God, Scheana is like, her ears must be ringing because everyone is talking about her.
Yeah.
I assume you saw Lala's podcast that just came out this week.
I did. And instead of just reading the transcript, I did listen because I want to hear the inflection in the voice and the other people. You know, I was like, okay, so obviously we talked about this last week on the podcast. And then I saw her Amazon Live where she said she's really been struggling lately, you know, with her anxiety and worrying about what she says and just her mental health and whatnot. And so I immediately text my podcast producer and I was like, hey, I don't want to kick a girl while she's down. You know, I still have so much love for her. So let's just cut all of that out of the podcast. I just didn't want to put it out there. But then she goes and does a podcast and doesn't put out the complete truth. So after extending grace last week, I do feel the need to address it because Lala knows
why our friendship is in the state that it's in. And on that podcast, she did not take accountability. This is not just about not posting for my book for a week. It is about so much more than that.
Yeah. And I'm sure people will say, like, you know, why don't you just go to her directly? And I feel like, but she did bring this out in a public forum. And so I feel like you do have to kind of address it publicly.
Well, and that's the thing. She made it public without maybe even realizing it when she didn't post. So I'm in interviews that whole first week, every day, some all day, that first week of book press. I can't tell you how many times I got asked, how are you and Lala? Are things with you okay? People in the audience at my live shows, when they would send in questions and whatnot, were asking about Lala. And we're like, oh, are you guys still good? She hasn't posted your book. And I'm like, yeah, I noticed that, but I'm still trying to, especially in front of a live audience with phones everywhere, I'm still trying to keep it cool. So much so that when we were doing like prank calls in the beginning of the shows, I called her one night because everyone's like, call Lala, call Lala. And I'm like, I don't know if she's going to answer, but I was like, you know what? I'm just going to call her. She didn't answer.
Okay.
The next day she texted me, was like, was everything okay? And I was like, yeah, I just, my show, like everyone was like dying to talk to you. And so that was my way of trying to keep our private matters private by publicly calling her, being like, no, everything's fine. Oh, she didn't answer. I'm like, you guys, look at the time. It's bedtime. You know, she's got 2 kids, blah, blah, blah. But the real reason, which obviously you know, but now I'm going to need to tell you again because we have to tell the listeners, it was not about the book post or her saying that nothing she ever does will be good enough. It was not about that. The real reason, which I've alluded to in interviews, but I didn't want to put people completely on blast because these are people I genuinely care about. But it was that not one, but 2 of my closest friends repeated the Brock affair story to other people. One of those, it was repeated to Brittany. I know Brittany doesn't have bad intentions. I wanted to tell her myself. We didn't have a chance. That one, I'm like, I can get over that. Lala told Jenna Willis, who I have not been on good terms with since last season. So I guess over the months since the show wrapped last, September, leading up until February, Jenna had just been going in on me. And Lala, after I told her in February, like, hey, you know, I thought as early as March, certain excerpts and things were going to be going out, and I didn't know the whole structure of it. So I wanted to tell her, obviously, before it was public. I told her in February. I found out a week before I left for book tour that she told Jenna around February.
Why?
She did it to humanize me because she said that she was going so hard on me that she wanted to tell her about what I was actually going through. Now, I understand the intent was not malicious. I get that. You wanted to explain something to someone. But this is someone I have had a friendship with for 15 years. This is someone who I think if you were like, yo, Jenna, I just found out something extremely devastating, extremely personal. Scheana has been going through something for the last couple of years. I know she's going to talk about it in her book. This isn't my place, but like, trust me, you got to give this girl some grace. Like, she's really going through a tough time. I think that would have been sufficient instead of just
explaining everything,
telling her exactly, because then you know what Jenna did? Jenna told people.
Yeah.
And so Lala only told me this because I was having lunch with Zach that day and I was actually trying to make up with Jenna. And I was like, hey, actually tell Jenna to call me and maybe we can meet up after lunch or whatever. And then she had called me back a few minutes later, sobbing. I guess she mentioned to Jenna I was seeing Zach, and Jenna goes, okay, well, I should probably tell you I told Zach, and I'm not sure who he told. And then now I'm not sure who else Jenna told. I kept this to myself for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then I tell you, one of, I think, my best, closest, dearest friends, and you go and tell someone.
Yeah.
So that was extremely heartbreaking. And I was just like, you know what? I told her I loved her on the phone. I was literally getting ready to go for a hike. My friends were waiting on the corner for me. And I was like, I I'm going to need some time to process this. I was very calm and collected. I said, thank you for telling me. I'm going to need some time. Like, I had no words.
Yeah.
I was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, 2 friends, 1 week. I was just like, oh my God. And so then obviously that brings up all of the feelings again. My own husband betrayed me. My closest friends betrayed me. It was the same sort of feelings of betrayal that I'm feeling right before I'm about to leave for book tour. And it was devastating.
Mm-hmm.
I know she felt horrible. You know, she talked to Brock and whatnot about it. But I just felt like, okay, this isn't even the first incident. There had been 2 things prior to that where we were already rocky, and this just tipped me over. She called me at a time when my kid was in the car. Her kid was in the car, screaming and yelling at me, cussing over a play date being overheard. And it was just like, you couldn't give me some grace. You know, there's no malicious intent, especially when it comes to the kids. That aside, there was another incident with our mom friend group and me suggesting for the Valley this season, they asked, who's your friend group outside of the core group? And I'm like, oh my God, Lala and I have all of these amazing moms. They're dynamic, they're diverse, they're this, they're that. She got mad at me for giving the moms names to production because she said she likes these women and she doesn't want to go toes with them. I'm like, so you don't like me, you don't like Brittany, you don't like Janet, like you don't like Michelle, you're okay going toes with us? Like, that doesn't make sense. Your reasoning. I let it go. Then this, I was just like,
Yeah.
it was especially painful for me because Lala knew the whole saga, the dark place that I was in mentally when I had a breach of trust when I first started writing this book. And it's like, finally, I was ready to open up to my close friends about this, and she did the same thing. So for her to violate my trust in a way like that, I was like, this is not, you know, a safe space for me. This is not a friendship I feel good in. And this has been a pattern of behavior for years, you know? And I remember Ariana and I would talk about this before every reunion. Like, oh, are we ready for the Lala apology tour, season 5, season 6, season 7? It was like every year should treat me like shit and then come to the reunion and cry and apologize, and I would forgive her. And it was just like a rinse and repeat. And then it's just like, okay, well, with her, sweep it under the rug, get over it, move on, get over it, move on. I don't want to just get over things and move on now. I want to place boundaries and have a little more respect for myself and the circle that I'm keeping.
Yeah.
I want it to be people I trust. I don't like feeling like I can't say everything I want to say when I'm in a situation, whether it's the moms at school, whether it's my friends on the show, my friends from high school. I feel safe in all of my friendships. And now I don't feel safe in this. And I know she's not used to me standing up for myself because in the past, I just let people walk all over me and I sweep it under the rug and I just want to keep the peace and have everything be sunshine and fucking rainbows. But I couldn't let this just be like water under the bridge. You know, like this bridge is flooded.
Yeah.
It needs to be fully rebuilt. And I don't know if I want to rebuild it.
So when you told her, like, okay, I need to process this, I need some space, did she understand that? And was she like, okay?
So we got off the phone. I was like, you know, I'm going for a hike right now. I'm going to need some time to process this. About 20 minutes later, she texted me and said, I'm so sorry. I betrayed your trust. There's nothing I can say. If you don't want me to come to Utah anymore, I understand. And this was because she wasn't able to make it to the Grove book signing. She had a prior engagement. And so I was like, well, why don't you come to Salt Lake? You know, that'd be fun. You're from Utah. I can do a bit with you, Lisa Barlow, Jesse and Demi. Like, that would be so fun. Like, all of these different women from Utah.
Yeah.
And so she booked her own flight and everything, as I did when she was on her podcast tour. I flew myself and Brock out to Atlanta. That's what friends do.
Yeah.
You know? And so I didn't respond right away because I was on a hike. And then Brock calls me. He's like, Lala just called me. And I was like, I can't do this right now. And that was the day I'm having my sit down with Zach to just hash everything out. We literally sat at Costa Vega for 3 hours. I did not check my phone. My alarm went off to pick up my kid. I go to school to pick her up. I'm putting Summer in the car and I see Lisa get out of the car. And I was like, oh, hi, Gigi. Then Lala and Sosa get out and they just like start walking into the school. Lisa's like, you girls aren't going to say hi to each other? I'm like, I didn't do anything. Like,
Yeah.
I'm strapping my kid in. She just walked past me. And so then Lala comes back without Sosa and she was like, my mom said I should give you a hug. And I was like, well, yeah, it's kind of fucking weird that you're just walking past me when she goes, well, you didn't respond to my text. So I'm giving you your space. And I'm like, honey, I said I need some time. It's been a few hours.
Yeah.
Just give me some time. I will respond to you. So I respond. I said, look, Utah isn't tomorrow. Okay. I just need a little bit of time. So apparently enough time for her was until I think it was 8:58 the next morning. This is around 4 p.m. We're picking up the kids from after school. And the next morning, I get a text about this long. It was the most gaslighting text that I have ever received. It was no accountability. It was blame. It was, you are not going to punish me. You are not going to do this to me. What I told Jenna, you wrote about in a book. You've done a cover article. You did a glamour story. You've been monetizing on this. It was a full deflection and gaslighting. Like, how dare you say this or treat me like this? And she called me cold and hostile. She goes, yeah, when you were cold and hostile on the phone, I'm like, I was calm and collected. I don't yell and react like Lala does. I take time. I process. It is very rare I raise my voice. There's just not reasons that you need to yell. Sure, when you're filming, you get amped up. Absolutely. I have raised my voice to a pitch that I didn't know I could hit at times.
Yeah.
But with this, I wanted some time to process it. And I'm going to get over it and I'm going to forgive because that's what I do. But to not even give me a full 24 hours to process this, to just sit with it and understand like just everything. I was beyond hurt. I had a full press day the day of the text. And so I'm like, I can't even respond to this right now. So I said, don't have time to read this right now. I'm not ignoring you. I will respond later after my press day. Press day wraps up. I go to my text. The first one was a mom chat about dance class or something. And I respond and I was like, oh shit, Lala's in that. And I'm like, oh my God, now she knows I'm on my phone if I don't respond to her immediately. But I'm like, I haven't even digested this yet.
Yeah.
So then I text her because she knows I'm on my phone. I said, hi, finally sitting down, catching up. I'm going to respond soon. I respond. I clock everything that she said. I completely read her. And all she can respond with is, I hope you have a successful book tour and safe travels. The issue is now the lack of accountability and you deflecting and you projecting this all onto me and gaslighting me. That's not okay. So because I chose to write about it in a book, that's okay for you to go and tell someone 4 months before it's even coming out. You don't think that this person who has not good intentions for me is going to tell other people who also don't have good intentions for me and that this could leak to the press? Did you not think that? You're a very smart girl.
Yeah. Well, and because that's the thing when you're telling the story, because you're saying that Jenna had been talking really poorly about you. I'm assuming to Lala, and Lala had been sharing that with you. One, I don't know, like, I would think if Lala was your good friend, she should have shut that down because I just feel like that's like not a good friend thing to do. But also, she should have known this is not a safe person for Scheana. So I definitely shouldn't be sharing intimate details with her, no matter how close I am with her. Yeah.
That's what you would think. So I just hearted her. I hope you have a great press tour and safe travels. And then the next week on the 21st, the day before the book came out, she said, hi, Sheesh, I'm giving you your space. I've canceled my ticket to Utah. I hope you have an amazing trip and the tour is a success. And I just said, hi, I just finished my live show, got back to the hotel. I appreciate you giving me space and the well wishes. Tonight went great. I was genuinely looking forward to Utah with you, but I understand. We'll talk and hang when I get back. No response. Then the next day, the book comes out. People are asking, like, why haven't your friends posted? Especially the next day when I'm impressed. The next day. So I check in on her on the 24th and just said, hey, did your box come? Because I know everyone else's have been delivered. If yours wasn't delivered, I'm going to call the publishing house and be like, what the fuck? That was supposed to be there. She said, haven't seen it, but Lisa and Easton deal with packages. When I get home, I'll check. And I said, okay. And you really canceled your flight? I get back tonight if you want to talk. That was on the 24th. I didn't hear from her again. No acknowledgement of that. She had her red receipts on. No acknowledgement of that. And then August 5th, she texts me. and said, I know we're in a strange place, but I find it important to tell you I'm happy for you and so proud of you. And again, I said, I really appreciate that. I'd love to talk when I'm back next week. Tried to meet up. Oh, I have this. I have my Amazon Live. Now I have to go to the dermatologist. Oh, I can't go to your event tonight because I have this, that, and the other. But I just feel like the whole posting thing, yeah, I did make a comment about that when I was asked about it. And she did post. It was passive aggressive, but she did. She posted after the New York Times bestseller window was closed, and she just put at Scheana. And some of our mutual friends also noticed how passive aggressive that was. They've also seen her behavior and how she treats me. And they're like, why do you put up with this? What are you gaining from this friendship? And I'm like, no, you guys, like, she's got a lot on her plate. And I just make excuses. And I'm always there for her. The post itself, how passive aggressive it was hurtful to me because I wrote a whole chapter about her. I praised her in this book. Like, I just was, yes, expecting from my closest friend a little more than just at Scheana. You know, so proud of you for this book or whatever. And it's like, you did text me that on August 5th privately. Absolutely. That does mean something to me.
Yeah.
But did you text me that genuinely, or did you text me because your DMs were flooding with people saying, why haven't you posted for Scheana? Why aren't you supporting Scheana? Da 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 da.
Do you think that from the years you've spent on reality TV that it has made it like detrimental to relationships in real life because people react in a way that they think almost as if they have a camera on them at all times, and so it's really difficult to like get to a deeper level because it's like a TV show all the time?
Kind of. Yeah. And part of me wonders too, and I've had other people put this in my mind, and so then my mind goes crazy. But I'm like, did she instigate this over the summer to kind of fuel her storyline on the Valley? Because she's only friends with a couple of them. You know, I'm friends with all of them. And so if she has beef with me, then she gets in more episodes. And
even if there's not truth to it, of course your mind goes there because that is how the thinking, I think, of being when you're on reality show for so long, you can't help but wonder, like, why are you doing this? Because it doesn't make logical sense.
No, and I'm like, that's why I've tried to reach out multiple times privately because I wanted to hash this out privately. Also, I've seen people saying, you know, this fight, this feud, whatever, was manufactured for a storyline on the Valley. No truth to that. The last thing I wanted to film about. And, you know, it's just like she couldn't give me more than 12 hours to just process this huge betrayal and another heartbreak I'm experiencing. You know, like I know Brock got on the phone with her and was like, Lala, imagine how she feels. You know, everyone close to her, it's just betrayal. Like, give her some grace. But, you know, one night of that, I guess, was enough. But I feel like the podcast episode that she just put out was purely performative. I feel like she's trying to, you know, save her brand, do this whole rebrand thing. And she's saying what she thinks everyone wants to hear from her. But it's just like one thing behind closed doors, one thing in front of the cameras, one thing when, you know, she's on an Amazon Live or her podcast. And it's just frustrating. So she said, you know, she's done a lot of soul searching and that I need to do the same. And she was like, you know, you have all of these things to be grateful for. List all of the things that I already know and am extremely grateful for. And then says like, why are you so mad? I'm not mad. I'm at peace. That's why I'm making the choices I'm making in my life currently is because I'm not mad. You know what I'm mad about? I'm mad about a betrayal. But at the same time, I have so much empathy for Lala, you know, with losing her dad, coming into this show at such a young age, not really knowing anyone, just everything she's gone through with Ocean's dad and dealing with her relationship with alcohol. You know, that's a choice she has to make every day. And as I said in the book, it's like there is a lot that I admire about her, you know, her confidence as a mother, her activism, her passion, her IUI journey. I feel like that has been inspirational for so many women out there. And I think that's why I've always had a soft spot for her and why I've put up with a lot of struggles in this friendship over the years, because I'm like, I know there is a good person in there. You're not always a good friend, but I can forgive. I can move on. But if we're going to do that, then we need to put the full truth out there and you need to take full accountability. I just have to point out that it was not because she didn't post the book on my timeline.
Yeah.
It was the betrayal. And I'm not just going to sweep things under the rug anymore. You know, I've wanted to be there for her and I've always wanted to root for her because I think she's a very dynamic woman, but it's like, at what expense? You know, I found myself in the most crucial moment of my book tour, the biggest thing I've ever done professionally. And I'm just getting weighed down by Lala's emotional manipulation, like yet again. And I have to put some boundaries in place and stand up for myself. And I know people aren't used to me doing that, but yeah.
Well, like she said, you guys are neighbors. So I think you're going to have to resolve it at some point. Maybe it won't be any time in the near future, but sometime.
Yeah. You know, just listening to that podcast this week showed me there's never going to be accountability in this friendship. And I just feel like for so long in my friendships and my relationships, I've set the bar very low with how, you know, I allow others to treat me. And the real issue in this friendship is not that Lala changed. It's that I've changed, you know? And I think she acted this way because she knew she could get away with it because I have let her every time before. I forgive, I move on, let's keep the kids together. Like, I've just swept too much under the rug. And now I just feel like I needed to say my piece. And I really genuinely don't want to address this again, but I'm not going to have a false narrative out there about me. Let's just put it all out there.
And if y'all wanted to listen to the rest of the episode, Alex Baskin joins around the 26-minute mark to discuss why I didn't do the Valley. But thank you guys again so much for being here and listening, and we will be back next week with an all-new episode.
Thanks for listening to Scheananigans with Scheana Shay. Tune in next time for juicy updates from the world of reality TV, pop culture, and more. Download new episodes every week on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you like to listen.